Now coming to the comprehension check. Why did the neighbors kill the dog? What do you think should be the answer? The answer would be the dog did not guide the neighbors to the treasure. So they killed the dog in extreme anger. Right? The dog did not guide the neighbors to the treasure, so they killed the dog in extreme anger. This is the answer for question number 1. Now coming to question number 2, mark the right item. The old farmer and his wife loved the dog. A. Because it helped them in their day-to-day work. B. As if it was their own baby. And C. As they were kind to all living beings. The question was, the old farmer and his wife loved the dog. The answer would be B. As if it was their own baby. Right? Part 2. When the old couple became rich, they gave the dog better food, invited their greedy neighbors to a feast, lived comfortably and were generous towards their poor neighbor. What do you think? The answer would be C. Lived comfortably and were generous towards their poor neighbors. Right? Coming to the third part. The greedy couple borrowed the mill and the mortar to make rice pastry and bean sauce, magic ash to win rewards, or a pile of gold. The answer would be pile of gold. The greedy couple, they borrowed the mortar and the mill. Why? Because they wanted to convert their rice and beans into the pile of gold. Alright, coming to part 2. Not long after that, the good old man dreamed again, and the spirit of the dog spoke to him, telling him how the wicked people had burned the mill from the pine tree. So soon after few days, the good old man, he again dreamt of the dog. The spirit of the dog appeared again in his dreams, and it told him how the old wicked people, they have burned the mill which was made from the pine tree. So now he tells him, the dog spirits, it tells the old man, take the ashes of the mill, sprinkle them on the withered trees, and they will bloom again, said the dog spirit. Now the dog spirit told him that you collect all the ashes of that mill and sprinkle them on the bare and dry trees. Withered trees means bare and dry. Trees which do not have leaves, which do not have flowers or fruits. So they are called withered trees. So sprinkle them on the withered trees and they will bloom again, said the dog spirit. The old man awoke and went at once to his wicked neighbor's house, where he found the miserable old pair sitting at the edge of their square fireplace in the middle of the floor, smoking and spinning. So when the old man, he got up from his sleep, and he immediately went to the old wicked people's house, and when he went there to collect the ashes, what did he see? He saw that the old couple, they were sitting on the edge of their fireplace, which was a square in shape. So they were sitting at the edge of their fireplace in the middle of the floor, in just the middle of the floor, smoking and spinning. They were smoking and spinning. From time to time, they warmed their hands and feet with the blaze from some bits of the mill, while behind them lay a pile of the broken pieces. So from time to time, the old couple, the wicked old couple, they were warming their hands. They warmed their hands, as in they were trying to, take the heat from the fireplace, and their hands and their feet with the blaze from some bits of the mill, the fireplace, the firewood, the mill which they had used to make the firewood, while behind them lay a pile of the broken pieces, and behind them there was a pile of some broken pieces of the mill. The good old man humbly asked for the ashes. So now this good old fellow who had come to collect the ashes, he humbly, very softly and politely, he asked for the ashes. Though the covetous couple turned up their noses at him and scolded him as if he were a thief, they let him fill his basket with the ashes. The good old man, he humbly asked for the ashes. This wicked old people, the couple, they were greedy still, and they turned their noses at him, which means treated him with contempt, with anger. They treated him with anger and scolded him as if he had done something wrong, as if he was a thief. But still they allowed him to fill his basket with the ashes. On coming home, the old man took his wife into the garden. It being winter, their favorite cherry tree was bare. He sprinkled a pinch of ashes on it, and lo! It sprouted blossoms until it became a cloud of pink blooms which perfumed the air. The news of this filled the village, and everyone ran out to see the wonder. Now what happens? When they came home, when the old man came home, he took his wife into the garden. So they both went into the garden, and being the winter season, their favorite cherry tree was bare. Bare means dry, without any covering on it. So the cherry tree was dry. There were no leaves, no flowers, nothing. He sprinkled a pinch of ashes on it. Sprinkled means to throw drops of liquid or small pieces of something over a surface. So he sprinkled a pinch, as in just a pinch, very small amount of ashes. Now what is ashes? I think it is clear. Ashes is the leftover thing when somebody dies and something is burned or buried. We all know what ashes are, the remnants, you can say. So he sprinkled a pinch of ashes on it, on the cherry tree, and lo, to his surprise, he found what happened. It sprouted blossoms. Sprouted blossoms means to begin to produce new leaves, new flowers, to produce flowers. Suddenly the cherry tree, it bloomed. It sprouted blossoms, new flowers, new leaves came on it, until it became a cloud of pink blooms, pink flowers, beautiful leaves, they all came on it. It looked like as if it is a cloud of pink blooms, pink flowers, which perfumed the air. The air got scented because of such beautiful flowers. The news of this filled the village. Obviously, the news spread out in the village, and everyone ran out to see the wonder. Everyone came there just to see the magic that has just happened. The covetous couple also heard the story, and gathering up the remaining ashes of the mill, kept them to make withered trees blossom. So this wicked old couple, they also heard the same story, and gathering up the remaining ashes, whatever remaining ashes they had in the firewood, they collected all that, and they kept them to make a withered tree blossom. So they kept all that ashes, and they kept it safe to do the same thing, so that they can make the withered trees blossom, the dried trees blossom. The kind old man, hearing that his lord, the daimyo, was to pass along the high road near the village, set out to see him, taking his basket of ashes. Now, the good old man, he heard that his lord, the daimyo, was to pass along the high road. The group along with the daimyo probably would be passing through the high road near the village. So he set out to see him. So he started to see him. I mean, he wanted to see him, so he set out from his house to see him. He carried along the basket of the ashes. As the train approached, he climbed up into an old withered cherry tree that stood by the wayside. So as soon as the train approached, this old man, he climbed up a cherry tree which was all withered, and that cherry tree, it was on the wayside of the road. Train here means procession, when the procession of the daimyo, as in the whole group of the daimyo, was supposed to pass. Now, in the days of the daimyos, it was the custom when their lord passed by for all the loyal people to shut up their high windows. Now, it was a custom, it was a tradition, it was a rule, you can say, or a law, that when the daimyo is passing from a particular place, all the people had to shut their windows of their houses close. As in, they had to close their windows, they had to shut their windows. They cannot see the daimyo or the procession. It was, kind of disrespectful. It was considered a sign of disrespect. So they had to close their windows. They even pasted them fast with a slip of paper so as not to commit the impertinence of looking down on his lordship. They even had to paste them with a slip of paper so that they do not disrespect the lordship, disrespect the daimyos. All the people along the road would fall upon their hands and knees and remain prostrate until the procession passed by. Now again, it was a sign of respect that when the daimyo and the procession, the whole procession, the group is passing by, all the people who are on the wayside, they have to kneel down, as in they have to go on their knees and remain prostrate, means lying on the ground face downwards. They have to lie down on the ground with their face downwards, and they have to remain in that position till the procession has passed by. That was the kind of respect they had to pay to the daimyo. The train drew near. One tall, competent man marched ahead, crying out to the people by the way, "Get down on your knees, get down on your knees." And everyone kneeled down while the procession was passing. So as the procession drew near, as they came near, a tall, competent man marched ahead. So one of the person from that procession, he was a tall, competent man. Competent man means somebody who's an authority, who is, authorized to say or do something. So this person, he came out of the procession, he marched ahead, and he started calling out to the people, "Get down on your knees, get down on your knees," which meant that they should, this was a sign of respect, a symbol of respect towards the leader of the procession. So it is, he came out of the procession and he started crying to the people. He was telling them to bend down, get down on their knees so that they can show respect to the leader of the procession. And everyone kneeled down while the procession was passing. And as the procession passed, everybody was on their knees. Suddenly, the leader of the van caught sight of the aged man up in the tree. Suddenly, the leader of the van, he caught sight of the aged man who was sitting on the top of the tree. He was about to call out to him in an angry tone, but seeing he was such an old fellow, he pretended not to notice him and passed him by. The leader of the van, he saw the old man who was sitting on the top of the tree. He wanted to shout at him in anger, because it was kind of disrespect that he was sitting there to see at the daimyo and the procession. But then when he noticed that this fellow, he was such an old fellow, he did not say anything. Instead, he pretended as if he's not even seen him. He did not notice him. He pretended like that, and they passed. So when the daimyo's palanquin drew near, the old man, taking a pinch of ashes from his basket, scattered it over the tree. In a moment, it burst into blossom. So now, the palanquin means the royal van or the cart. So as soon as the royal cart was passing by, the old man, he took a pinch of the ashes from his basket and scattered over the tree. And in a moment, just in a moment, the whole tree blossomed. The tree was withered, but then it blossomed. The delighted daimyo ordered the train to be stopped and got out to see the wonder. The daimyo, he was delighted. He was so happy. He got surprised. He got joyous. So in joy, in happiness, he asked the leader, to stop the train, and he got out of the van to see the wonder. Calling the old man to him, he thanked him and ordered presents of silk robes, sponge cake, fans, and other rewards to be given him. He even invited him to his castle. He was so excited, he was so happy and joyous that he thanked the old man for blossoming the tree, and he presented some silk robes, sponge cakes, fans, and other rewards to the old man. In fact, he even invited him to the castle, the royal castle. Gleefully means happily. So happily he ordered to give him the presents. So the old man went gleefully home to share his joy with his dear old wife. So this old man happily went home and shared the news with his wife. But when the greedy neighbor heard of it, he took some of the magic ashes and went out on the highway. The greedy neighbor, he heard of this story. He heard the news. So he thought, let me also do the same thing. Probably the daimyo, he would present me with the great gifts too. So then he he also took the magic ashes and went straight to the highway. Highway was the place where the procession was, was passing by. There he waited until a daimyo's train came along, and instead of kneeling down like the crowd, he climbed a withered cherry tree. So then he waited till the daimyo's procession comes along, and then instead of like other people who were kneeling down in respect, which they were supposed to do, instead of doing that, he climbed up a withered cherry tree. He actually copied the good old man. Probably he was thinking that he will do the same magic. When the daimyo himself was almost directly under him, he threw a handful of ashes over the tree, which did not change a particle. Now, when the daimyo was almost just under the tree on which the old wicked man was, sitting, so when the daimyo was just under the tree, this old man, he threw a handful of ashes over the tree, and nothing happened. Did not change a particle means even a little bit. Nothing changed. Not a particle of the tree changed. Nothing happened. The wind blew the fine dust in the noses and the eyes of the daimyo and his wife. Instead, because of the wind, the ashes, they got into the eyes and the noses of the daimyo and his wife. Such sneezing and choking. Both of them, they started sneezing and choking because of those fine particles of the ashes which got into their eyes and nose. It spoiled all the pomp and dignity of the procession. This incident which happened where the daimyo and his wife, they started sneezing and choking. It spoiled all the pomp and show, as in it spoiled all the dignity, all the respect of the procession. The man whose business it was to cry, "Get down on your knees," seized the old fool by the collar, dragged him from the tree, and tumbled him and his ash basket into the ditch by the road. Now the old man, the fellow whose job was to make people aware or order them to get them on their knees, this fellow, he dragged the old man from the tree, from his collar, and he tumbled him, as in he threw him into a ditch along with his ash basket, which was just near the ditch which was just near the road. Then, beating him soundly, he left him for dead. And then he beat him so badly. Soundly means too much. He beat him so badly, he beat him too much, and just left him there to die. Thus the wicked old man died in the mud. But the kind friend of the dog dwelt in peace and plenty, and both he and his wife lived to a green old age. The old man, who was the wicked fellow, he died in the mud because of all the beating and his greed, which he had to get all the treasures which the good old man had. So because of his greed and his bad attitude, bad nature, he died there in the mud. But the good old fellow, the good old man and his wife, they lived in peace and plenty. They were never poor. They lived in plenty to a green old age. Green old age means healthy, active and prosperous. They lived a healthy and a happy life. Alright. The story was written by William Elliot Griffiths. It is a Japanese tale, and this is written by William Elliot Griffiths. And I hope you have understood the story. We'll be moving to the comprehension part.